Alrighty, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the. Oh, is it yours?
Let's go.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Technical difficulties. Again? Okay, now we're good. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with the SOP T10 pre-app workshop today. So yeah, thank you guys for coming. My name is Karina. I'm a fourth year language science major with a psych minor. And then I'm joined today by my fellow student advisor, Jessica.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica. I'm a second year double majoring in cognitive science and English.
So today we're going to go over the process of submitting a pre-application for the upcoming Trailblazers 10 cycle through SOP. Is this going to work? Okay, and if you haven't already, please just go ahead and check in through the QR code. It really helps out our office. And we can also go back to this slide at the end of the presentation, but it would just be great if you could go ahead and do that right now. So we'll just give you a second to do that and scan it. Alrighty, so I will hand it off to Jessica to begin the presentation.
All right, so we'll just give you first a little bit of an overview of what our office does. So we're the Scholarship Opportunities Program, just making sure you're all in the right place. So we support sophomores to alumni within a year after graduation in applying to 21 prestigious merit-based scholarships that are nationally and internationally recognized. So our office is under the Division of Undergraduate Education. So we support undergraduates in applying to these scholarships. So through the entire application process, our office is helping you by giving you essay feedback, helping you revise all of your materials. We give you access to past winning applications, and we also help you with mock interviews before a potential scholarship interview, as well as, sending you reminders, making sure you get in all of your letters and materials in on time. Separately, but still related, is that the scholarship agencies ask us, our office, to endorse candidates for some of these scholarships. So some of them you have to go through our office because UCI as a campus has to approve you as a candidate, essentially. And just to clarify, we are not the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships, Financial Aid, OFAS, whatever you want to call it. We are separate from them, so we don't have anything to do with like Scholarship Universe or things like that, because our scholarships are from external organizations that have nothing to do with UCI. They just fund study for individual students. So our advising process is very personalized. You'll get a professional advisor and a student advisor to help you. As I said, we send reminders. You get multiple drafts of all of your application materials through our office. You get feedback from multiple sources, and you do a lot of revision before you actually submit your application.
Okay, so this is kind of like a quick overview of all the T10 scholarships that we're going to go through today. So just to kind of highlight some things, the ones that are italicized are ones that encourage or require campus endorsement. Just let me make sure. Yeah, campus endorsement, and endorsement is basically just a stamp of approval from UCI as an institution. It's not in like another application that you have to do. It's just something that's part of the process. And that SOP does as an office. Kind of think about it as like we're the face of UCI and we're giving you the stamp of approval on behalf of this institution, letting the committee know that you're a good candidate for this specific scholarship. And some the green ones are the green ones. Sorry. Yeah. And then the ones that are highlighted in green are ones that are open to international students. Some scholarships have citizenship restrictions. So for example, like the NSF, you have to be a citizen, but something like the Rhodes can be open for whatever citizenship you hold. So yeah, this is just a quick overview. And T10 mainly focuses on juniors, seniors, and recent graduates. SOP does provide advising for 1 year after you graduate. So if you're graduating this upcoming spring 2023, you have until spring 2024 to come back to our office and apply through us and get all of the services that we offer. And yeah, a lot of these are for graduate study awards or post-grad research projects and things of that nature. And yeah, so I think we can.
Okay, so something you would have to do in the process of applying with our office, there are 2 steps. So this workshop is about the pre-application, but before you complete your pre-application, you'll need to complete SOP prep. So calling it a course is a little bit scary, but it's really just a couple of assignments of you talking about yourself, giving us an idea of who you would be as a scholarship candidate. So the prep course is meant for undergrads that are sophomores or higher with a cumulative GPA of at least a 3.0. So that's, where we usually like to start with our candidates. As Karina mentioned already, you can also start this if you're within a year of graduation, since we still help alumni. And then if you are looking to enroll in this course before you do your pre-app, which you have to, sorry if that wasn't clear, you can just enroll. You don't need to get permission from anyone. You can just go to the link, get your account, and start working on it. There's no necessarily time limit of how fast you have to finish the assignments. As long as they're done, we usually recommend within a week before the pre-application is due. So that would be pretty soon, as the pre-application is due on April 10th, which we will cover more soon. But basically what you need to take from this one is that you do need to complete this course on Canvas through all these journals before you submit your pre-application. So yeah, sorry, just to go a little bit into more depth about what the prep course is. So there's 3 journals first that we like to call the exploration phase. So it's basically just you talking about like someone you admire, like a leader, or someone you've met professionally, and then to talk about your goals, and then a plan of what you're going to do in the future. And then also to get a little bit of an idea of what scholarships you might be interested in, you would take a little quiz that would return some results of things that could potentially fit you. And then you would also meet with a student advisor, so me, Karina, any of our student coworkers, to discuss which one you'd be interested in applying in particular, or like learn more about the process if you still have questions.
Alrighty, so here is kind of where we're going to start talking more about the pre-application. So if you're interested in applying to any of these scholarships, like Jessica said, a pre-application is required. It's not anything that the scholarship committees will see. It's strictly for our office. So if you want to apply, it is up on our website, and the link is right there if you're interested. But if you want to find it on our website, then it's scholars.uci.edu, and then go to scholarships, and then go to undergraduate advising and click pre-app information, and it'll be right there. And yeah, so sorry, let's just can we just, let's go here. Yeah, so here is the pre-application, and it's a short, simple form just to express your interest in applying for our office. So this is kind of where we look at you more as a candidate. We ask you like if you have any leadership experience or any study abroad experience, anything like that. And it's just to let our team kind of gauge what your academic and career goals are. So if you want to go to grad school, or if you want to do a fellowship or anything like that. And after you submit the pre-application, a professional advisor will meet with you to discuss everything that you can do throughout your journey at SOP. So we'll kind of go through the scholarships that you selected on your pre-application and see how they fit into your academic and professional goals. And then we'll kind of get you thinking on letter writers and things to write about during your statement of grant purpose or your personal statement. So if you have any problems with the pre-application, email the SOP email as soon as you can, so that we can get your problem addressed and fixed, and then you can submit your pre-application before the deadline. One thing I forgot to mention is that the April 10th noon deadline is a hard deadline. That should say Monday. But yeah, so we just want to make sure that you get it on time so that we can get like started on your journey, application journey, as soon as we can. Alrighty.
Okay, so the first thing we'll cover about the pre-application is that you're sort of planning your future, your grad school plans, your career plans, etc. So we just want to make sure that you can be as specific as possible with your goals, because maybe you don't have everything planned out, but as long as you have an idea, then you can work with maybe someone who's mentoring you or one of our professional advisors to get a more specific idea of what you want to do. So if you're looking into what you might potentially want to do, some scholarships do have restrictions about what major you are or what degree type you're intending to get. So your preference for maybe studying in the US or studying abroad and what field you're planning on going into can help you decide which scholarship might be right for you. And it is important to note that when you're choosing a specific school or a grad program, that they want you to justify why you're choosing them. So usually it's good to have a specific reason that you need to go to that specific school or why you need to research this specific thing along those lines. And it's also helpful if for these grad school programs, you can identify a professor at the school that you'd want to research or work with. And it's more about finding someone that you'd be able to work well with there than like the reputation of the university. And then once you find maybe someone, you're searching around, you find someone you'd be interested in working with, you can contact them and, get an idea if they'd be willing to advise you or mentor you if you were to be accepted into that program or scholarship. And then also when looking at grad programs and scholarships, it's important to think about how it could contribute to your personal development. So if it's abroad, developing your worldview and things like that, or if you're just going into research or trying to, make connections, if they have like mentorship programs or learning cohorts, things like that. And then for career plans, if you're going, you have a specific idea of what you want your career to be, then, in the pre-app, tell us as much as you can, like be as specific as possible, because that helps us match you with scholarships and helps us improve your application. And then you can also think about your interests and past experiences and how those could connect to your future grad school plans or future career plans.
All right, so the next step is to select your scholarship. So this is where all that reflection in the previous step kind of comes into play. This is where you think about if you want to do grad school or a PhD or a fellowship or a broad experience, something like that. This step, your professional advisor that you're assigned to throughout the entirety of your application process can really help you with kind of things like this. So if you're unsure of what you want to do, we can kind of point you to the right direction, the right scholarship, and see if that's something viable for you to do. Knowing your career plans and academic plans really helps you know which award is right for you. And if you're unsure, this is where your team comes in and helps you to kind of gauge like what it is you want to do, where you can go, what is the best fit for you, et cetera, et cetera. And the last bullet point is more specific to a specific scholarship that we advise for, which is the Fulbright. We'll talk about it a little bit more later, but just to give you kind of like a run through of what it is. It's a program that lets you go to a country abroad and you can be there for your own independent research project, or you can get your master's degree. You can do an English teaching assistant program. It just depends on what you want to do. And there are ways to make sure that you're selecting the right program, which is this next step. So this is considering competitiveness.
Okay, so it is a little bit scary to consider how competitive some of these scholarships are because they are merit-based and some of them are international. So you're literally competing with people around the world. But we're keeping it real, and we do believe in you all that you can apply. So we recommend that you have a 3.5 or higher GPA to be competitive. And these big programs like the NSF and Karina just mentioned the Fulbright are meant to increase access to grad education. So they are relatively less competitive and well-funded. So there are thousands of awards each year, which means in the green here, you can see you have a better chance of winning either of those. The more competitive ones like Knight, Hennessy, and Soros are smaller and privately funded, so they have less money to give out, which means less people are winning. So we usually recommend a 3.7 or higher GPA and a lot of leadership or campus involvement, research, things like that for multiple years before you're applying so that you can be a competitive applicant. And then if you're looking for a PhD, it's important to note that a lot of good doctoral programs fully fund incoming students through like research grants and teaching assistantships. So if you got any of these awards, you would have added prestige, and then you'd have more independence to choose your topic, and then also be able to, you know, have more of a choice in where you'd like to go to school after that. All right, so for the Fulbright specifically, you have a choice of over 140 countries that you can go to, which gets a lot of people interested because you have a lot of freedom there. But it does vary the competitiveness from country to country. As you can see, the UK is much more competitive because a lot of people will go for the English-speaking countries where there's no language requirement to speak the language that is mostly spoken in the country. So you can actually find this information if you just look up Fulbright US student statistics. It'll give you the statistics for the last few years of how many people, what percentage of applicants were accepted by country. And then on average, Fulbright host countries select about 19 to 20% of applicants to receive grants. So that instead of all these specifics is just an average. And then, yeah, as I said, the English-speaking countries like the UK, Ireland, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand are more competitive with acceptance rates below 10% because you don't have to be able to speak another language. So if you do speak a second or third or fourth language, we do recommend applying to the countries where you speak that language because you could be a more competitive candidate.
So the next step is to identify your letter writers, and this can be kind of an intimidating step, but it's one that's really, really necessary for pretty much all scholarships that we advise for. And the first thing we say is to start early. So if you submit your pre-application and you start the process with us, this is kind of one of the first things to get you started on is thinking about who you can ask for a letter. The T10 cycle, the Trailblazers 10 goes all the way throughout summer when a lot of professors are still really busy. And we kind of tell you to ask them like kind of the beginning of spring quarter, just so that you can give them ample time to allow them to kind of think about you as a candidate and then write your letter the best way it can be. And the second thing is to ask appropriate people. So if you're in STEM and you want to do research, the most relevant person to ask is someone who, like a grad student or a professor that you've worked with that has seen you work in a research environment, such as a lab or something like that. If you want to do an English teaching assistant, then someone that has seen you in a teaching setting. If you volunteer at a school, or if you, I've known some undergrads that actually are TAs for their classes. So something like that would be really, really appropriate. And there is a document that we can give you at the beginning of this cycle when you join the Canvas page that tells you what type of letter they're looking for from what type of faculty from each scholarship. And then the last thing is to maintain communication. It's really important that you let the people know what you're up to. So let's say if you ask them in spring, and then by the end of spring quarter, you got this really prestigious award, you should let them know so that they can incorporate that into their letter, and just let them know, this is how far I am on my scholarship application. This is my personal statement, etc., etc. And this is optional, but is highly, highly encouraged that when you ask someone for a letter of recommendation, that you provide a resume, your transcript, descriptions of the scholarships that you're applying for, so they can know what criteria to hit in that letter, and a complete list of deadlines. So when should they turn in their letter of recommendation? When is the scholarship actually due? And sometimes a cover letter is really nice so that they can kind of see the kind of person you are if you're entering the workforce or something like that. So yeah, this is a very imperative step in the process. And the next thing is drafting your proposal. So if you're applying to grad school, or if you're applying to some scholarships as well, you have to do something called a statement of grant purpose. And this is basically an essay that is you explaining to the scholarship committee why you should get this award, why you should be in this program, what is it that you can do with it. So addressing the prompt, a lot of them ask for, like, for example, the Soros will ask something for along the lines of a New American essay. So it talks about what it's like being a first generation student or something like that, and show relevance to your current academic debates or development. So kind of what I mentioned earlier, if you want a really prestigious award, kind of talk about that, what impact that has on you as a person and as your development going forward into a professional or academic environment, and look at past winning applications. So this is something that SOP gives to all of their applicants, is access to past winning applications. So you can really see what a winning application looks like. What did people write about in their statement of grant purposes and their personal essays, and strategize on what details to include. Throughout this entire process, you'll have a professional advisor who will help you with all of your drafts for all of your essays. So they'll kind of nitpick everything that's in your essays. And with the T10 cycle, you also get the added help of a writing specialist from the Writing Center. And then the last thing is to get feedback on your proposal from professors and mentors. So if your professor or someone that you really have a close connection with has time, it'd be really great for them to read your proposals, especially if they're in the field that you want to work for, because they can provide some really, really great feedback on that.
So in order to, create your personal statements or statements of grant purpose, whatever your scholarship is asking for, we sort of get you to, tell your personal story about who you are. So you're sort of making connections between yourself and the award, why you would be a good fit for that program or award specifically, and how your past experiences and future goals and skills that you already have could fit that program. It's good to include like a range of your relevant experiences, like classes you've taken, maybe research you've done, jobs or internships you've had, studying abroad, volunteering, etc. And your motivations for things that you've done, like volunteering, or just your motivations for the field that you're pursuing or your major, and then what direction you see yourself going in the future. And we do like to make sure that, in your writing, you're demonstrating your talents as, a writer, a student, and a good candidate. So you can show that you've like learned from past experiences or grown from maybe mistakes or any sort of experiences that you had in like leadership positions or classes or things like that. And then we also advise being original. So you're being yourself. You're not trying to, fit into any sort of mold that you think the scholarship agency wants to see. You can be yourself, be descriptive, turn your something mundane from your life into something unique, and try to be original and use something that encapsulates who you are in a more unique way.
Alrighty, so here we have candidate resources. So this is where we go over what SOP can offer you as a candidate. So the first thing is scholarship advisor meetings. So this is something that's available to you throughout the entire process. If you're unsure about a draft or you're just unsure about the process in general, then you can go ahead and schedule a meeting with your professional advisor or student advisor and just kind of really talk about what it is that's on your mind. Like if there's something on your draft that you're not sure about, then just let us know. And then the application process overview. So this is going to be connecting to the T10 Canvas course. So once you're in, you've done the pre-application, you've done SOP prep, you're going to be enrolled in a specific Canvas course that's for T10, which is where you'll be submitting all of your drafts, all of your application materials, your resume, et cetera, et cetera. And we provide a giant schedule that tells you when everything is due, and to give you as much time as you need to plan ahead for these drafts and stuff like that, because they are important that you turn them in so that we can give you ample feedback within an appropriate time frame. And then the next thing is the thing that I mentioned earlier about past winning applications. This is only available to people who have submitted the pre-app, have done SOP prep, and are actively applying to a scholarship. So yeah, and then the next thing is, like I said, using Canvas. And then again, like I mentioned earlier, you are paired with a writing center specialist for the T10 cycle, since their load is a little bit lighter. And yeah.
Okay, so we've gone over the pre-application, sort of what it entails, what you'll be writing about, but what happens after you submit that? So by April 10th at noon, you'll have submitted your pre-application. So then after that, you'll be added to, as Karina mentioned, our Canvas course. So that's where we will be posting how you submit all of your drafts of your materials, so that you can, stay organized and stay on top of things. So you sort of start with like an exploration of, what you want to do, what your goals are, your academic and career goals. And you'll meet with your professional advisor to sort of talk about those things more in depth. And then you'll officially choose an award that you'd want to apply for. So after you choose what direction you want to go in, you can start researching the particular grad program or country that you want to go to. And then that way you can craft your argument to be specific to the scholarship and program that you've chosen. And then in June and July, so this process is a little bit lengthy, you'll start writing all of your essays, your materials, things like that. And then you'll get feedback from your professional advisor and your student advisor, as well as the writing specialist from the UCI Writing Center. So you're getting a lot of sources of feedback, really helps to draft multiple times, get a lot of feedback so that you can have the best essay possible when you submit. You do end up submitting in about September. So that is when you would have all of your materials ready, revised, and you will send them to the external agency that manages the scholarship.
Alrighty, so these are just some last notes about the SOP process. It is a fairly long process, like Jessica mentioned. It's around 6 months, just because we have the ability to use some time during the summer to, again, like make sure that your application is the best it can be. It is a long process, but it's completely worth the outcome if you win these scholarships, or even if you're a semifinalist or an alternate or anything like that, which an alternate just means that if there's additional funding, then you can actually end up winning the award. But these scholarships are so prestigious that even having those titles on your resume is like a nice little bow to have on them. And you can have like funding for your entire grad program, funding to live abroad and study abroad after you graduate from UCI. And yeah, this whole thing is something that we help you with throughout the entire process. We're here for you every single step of the way, and we like email you reminders, and you have that giant schedule. So we're not leaving you in the dust by any means, and we're here to support you throughout the entire time. And just have open communication with us if there's anything throughout the process that you're unsure of, or you want to update or whatever it is, and we're always here for you. But yeah, and another thing too is a lot of the application materials for these scholarships or materials that you can use for other grad programs. Personal statements are pretty much the one thing they always ask you, and then statements of grant purposes as well. So yeah.
All right, so that is all of the information we're going to throw at you today. So thank you for joining us, whether on Zoom or in person. This has our email, our website. So if you go to our website, you can enroll in SOP prep, which again is the first step before you complete your pre-application. And then you can actually start filling out the pre-application as well.
And then, yeah, so before we finish, just one last time, if you haven't scanned the QR code, please do that. It really helps out our office with student engagement and stuff like that. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, you guys can ask us here in person or write them in the chat. But that's all we have for you today. Just remember to submit the pre-application by April 10th noon. So yeah, thank you guys. Mute it.
Can I ask a question? You guys, can you show the third to last slide? I think I missed it. The slide says something about what happens if you don't get the application.